Hey, I'm Sally Kirkman, and I'm here with Christina Rodenbeck, and we're here in our regular podcasts, Astrology Talk Investigate. And this month, our question is, can you spot a swindler? How can astrology help? What do we think, Christina?
Well, we decided that we'd look at the chart of Charles Ponzi, who is, the idea of a Ponzi scheme is named after Charles Ponzi. Well, I've just read his full name, which is Carlo Pietro Giovanni Guglielmo Tebaldo Ponzi, born the 3rd of March, 1882, in Lugo, Italy, but he emigrated to the United States and he ripped people off by the age-old method of of taking their money, saying that he was going to invest it, and then using that money to pay people who had previously invested. So it's a Ponzi scheme, is like it's a nonsense swindle, basically.
Pyramid scheme, we also know them as, don't we? I mean, it is this collecting money and then you pay it with the returns of other investors, and it can quickly spiral out of control, can't it? Because suddenly there's no money left in the pot to pay more investors coming in, and it all goes badly wrong. I mean, he was quite a character, Charles Ponzi. I mean, he did 3 stints in prison, bless him. So, not that successful, maybe, or it depends how you define success. Should we have a look at his chart, Christina?
Yeah. I mean, he really promised the world as well, which I think is interesting. I mean, he promises massive profits. Find the numbers in a minute. Let me just get Charles Ponzi.
Well, just to say, when I looked into it, this was sort of in the 1920s is when the big scheme collapses. And he's dealing with 8 million. 8 million is a lot back in the day, huh? 30,000 investors in 7 months.
Yeah, well, he promised clients 50% profit within 45 days or 100% profit within 90 days.
Wow.
Actually, I don't think you need astrology to tell you there's something wrong with those numbers. So when someone's promising you that kind of return, you may want to question and then have a look at their chart. What do you think of Ponzi's chart as a sort of swindler's chart?
Well, I have to say straight away, lovely that he's a Pisces.
Yeah.
It's simple. Sun Pisces. Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Neptune is the planet of illusion.
He's like a magician.
And it is in astrology, it is the planet that's often associated with kind of scams, betrayals. If you have a Neptune aspect in your own chart, you need to be a little bit wary. Are you gullible, or do you believe everything you hear without checking out the facts? It kind of works both ways, doesn't it, with Neptune? So, I mean, straight away a Pisces, but then look at Neptune in his chart. Those of you who are on YouTube, Neptune on the descendant, the point in the chart that, is about other people. So, I mean, straight away, this is interesting for a swindler, isn't it?
Yeah, he knew how to target the right people. I mean, it seems to me clear. First of all, Scorpio rising, he's ruthless. There's a ruthless streak usually in Scorpio rising, and very focused on money, right? Because it's the money axis is Scorpio Taurus.
Yeah.
And he has a massive stellium in Taurus on the descendant. And that's the people he's looking for, is people with money and who are vulnerable and gullible, and you can see that with the Neptune Chiron Jupiter conjunction there, right on the descendant. Chiron's on the descendant. This is vulnerable people. It's interesting. You often see that in people who are really kind, actually, that Chiron on the descendant, because they look after vulnerable people. But in his case, he's looking for vulnerable, wealthy Jupiter, Jupiter in Taurus, vulnerable, wealthy individuals who have that Neptunian confusion. And he's really the focus in Taurus is really interesting, isn't it? Because Taurus is a wonderful sign, but it can be greedy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to give him, the benefit of the doubt, maybe, which perhaps I shouldn't, saying he was arrested and put in prison 3 times. But, maybe with Jupiter, the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction on the descendant, he had great dreams for people. Maybe there was a part of him that thought, this is how we can all get rich and, we can all become millionaires. Maybe there was something genuine there. Or maybe he was just deluded about what he was doing. He
might have been deluded. He was obviously extremely charming.
Yeah.
I would say with the Sun Venus conjunction in Pisces.
Yeah.
And the Jupiter Neptune conjunction. It's interesting. I mean, this chart, we think it's got quite a good rating, hasn't it? The birth time, which would give him the moon in Virgo, which is an interesting thing for a con person. Not necessarily what I would expect, the moon in Virgo. I would have thought that would make him rather a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
But again, maybe very charming because it's in the 10th house, kind of popular.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the people as well, isn't it? This I suspect maybe he started off wanting to be of service, wanting to serve people, but he just hasn't got a clue, and he does it in a deluded way. I mean, there's that Scorpio rising, Mars in Cancer in the 8th, and all that Taurus. I mean, is there a side of him that is greedy? And is the motivation money? I mean, very possible, for himself.
He lived a life of great luxury when he wasn't doing time. So he liked to sort of spend it, which is also interesting. I think that he loved luxury. He loved bling. He loved and I think that's also this ostentatious Leo on the MC. And it's interesting to me that makes a conjunction with Lilith, which is sometimes shows us where we're completely out of control, or what we become famous for. And of course, he became famous for a Lilith thing, which is like ripping people off, not playing, but Lilith does not play by the rules. Well, he didn't play by the rules.
Yeah.
And that's what he was famous for. I'm just sort of wondering, I don't know enough about him to know whether it was men or women that he ripped off more.
I don't know. I have a feeling it was, probably both, or anyone, anyone who'd buy into his schemes. But I don't know that. I don't know.
Yeah, he died in poverty.
Yeah.
And he wrote his autobiography, didn't he? Which is another reason that we kind of know about him.
Yeah, and it's interesting giving his name to the scheme as well, isn't it? I mean, where do we see that he gives his name to the scheme?
Yeah,
Ponzi schemes, because they're still, I mean, that's still what we call them, Ponzi schemes, these pyramid schemes. It's, he has got loaded angles, hasn't he? He's got the, as you say, the moon Lilith up at the peak of the chart, and then opposite Mercury on the IC. So it may be something to do with that opposition that's about, the power of the name.
that's interesting. The eponymous, the thing that's named after you. What is named after you? What are you known for? And I do think that's a very Lilith thing to be known for, is being a ripoff artist. I think this also tells us something about him as this sort of Piscean illusionist, which is what he said to an American reporter. He died in Rio, having, Rio de Janeiro, having kind of gone there, and he died in poverty. But he did give an interview before he died. And this is what he says about the people that he ripped off. Even if they never got anything for it, it was cheap at that price. Without malice of forethought, I had given them the best show that was ever staged in their territory since the landing of the Pilgrims. It was easily worth 15 million bucks to watch me put the thing over. Really?
Wow.
That person has got a massive ego. Actually.
Massive ego and very delusional.
Very delusional. And I think and I'm looking at that Sun in Pisces making a beautiful sextile to Neptune in Taurus. Neptune, as we know, is the planet of illusion. I mean, he should have been making movies or something, not dealing with finance. But then because it's on the Taurus Scorpio axis, he just cut out the whole movies and having to be creative thing or having to do, he poured his creativity into these stupid financial schemes.
Yeah. And I did notice as well when he was arrested for the big one in 1920, the nodes were in Scorpio Taurus across his ascendant descendant axis and triggering his Jupiter Chiron Neptune conjunction. Also Saturn pulled in there as well, and Pluto. Loads in Taurus. I mean, it's a stellium in Taurus, so it's kind of the nodes brought the downfall as they triggered his ascendant descendant.
And they've triggered Chiron, and that Chiron can also be your Achilles heel. Literally, it's like what you get caught by, right? I mean, we often think of Chiron as pain and the wounded healer and all that. It's also like it's the crack where the light gets in, if we're kind of being all spiritual and stuff, but it's the crack where you get caught. And he's caught by the nodes. And also he's caught by his own delusions of grandeur, which is that Neptune, Jupiter on either side of his descendant, got these grand schemes. He must have been a huge talker, explaining them to things. But where is we can't really locate morality in a person's chart necessarily. And there's nothing particularly kind of immoral here. I mean, I would say that Lilith puts us outside the bounds of normal rules. I'm really fascinated by his Mercury retrograde in Aquarius on the IC. And I'm just wondering what on earth is going on with that. Maybe it's just fiddling numbers, doing numbers backwards, because it's quite a numbery place to have it. Mercury and Aquarius can be pretty good at math.
Yeah. And it's square all the stuff in Taurus as well, isn't it? I mean, very kind of caught in. I don't know his background enough, but maybe it's kind of a way out of a background that he wants to change as well.
He's escaping.
He doesn't want to, he wants to escape the sort of the past in some way, maybe because there wasn't money in his life, or there wasn't kind of these big dreams that he obviously has. So it may be linked to his past. I don't know enough about him to kind of affirm that in a way. Interesting. So I mean, this is kind of he has a classic Swindlers chart. I mean, really does. So these are good points. If you want to find out if someone's a swindler, take a look at the chart, see in particular what Neptune is doing, I would say, and know yourself. If you've got kind of Neptune in a hard aspect in your chart, you may, particularly when it links into the moon and Venus, I find also sometimes the sun, are you a person who can be kind of swayed or seduced or believe, sort of these big dreams, whether it's to do with love or money, actually, with Neptune, and just be a little bit wary of that, kind of come back to the sort of facts of a situation. It can be really helpful, I think, astrology, in helping guide you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm just also thinking one of the things with for people with Scorpio rising is quite often they have Sagittarius on the cusp of the second house of money.
Mm.
Sagittarius he's got North Node in Sagittarius too. So this is like, can be very kind of spaffing of money. You know, you make it, you lose it. You make it and you spend it with Sagittarius there. There's a retention problem with Sagittarius, but you can make a lot, you know. And with, again, Jupiter and Taurus, that you make a lot, you spend it on yourself, on your luxurious lifestyle. But I think that people with Scorpio rising need to be aware of what their relationship is with money, actually. Because it can be quite tricky. It can be a tricky relationship.
Yeah.
So that's Charles Ponzi. I think we've said enough about him. Next, we'll do another swindler.
Okay.
See if they stack up. We can do Madoff or something next.
Yep, absolutely.
Madoff with your funds.
I hope you found it interesting. See you next time. Bye.